It's only my opinion. Coffee milk.
We are going to head into the rough portion of the show. We're going to head into some Rhode Island news. Oh my God. Oh my God. So another week.
Clayon's vein was popping out for Rhode Island news. Get ready.
I'm gonna try to stay calm this week.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try.
Don't. It makes me smile.
I'm gonna try.
Freak out.
So, Gina Raimondo, our governor, our lovely governor of Rhode Island, on Tuesday, she had a press meeting with NBC 10. That's our local NBC station here in Rhode Island. And they were talking about sort of reopening schools and the things that they would need to reopen schools. A lot of the schools are saying one of the things that they do need is HVAC systems, which is sort of air conditioning, not air conditioning, but, so that there is airflow. We need to upgrade those systems for the schools so that so that air can flow through the schools and the kids that are now going to be stuck in a building can have airflow. So this is what she said, some of her quotes. She said, certainly HVAC systems are important, and certainly there are needs there, and certainly there are needs to be adequate airflow. The most important thing, actually, is wearing a mask. So that first statement, yes, I agree that wearing a mask is super duper important. But I believe air circulation is just as important, and one without the other is just stupid. If you have great airflow and you don't have mask, that's idiotic to be in that situation. If you have a mask and not great airflow, that's also that's not smart to be in that situation. So as much as she's right by saying that wearing a mask is important, having sufficient airflow is also as important as a mask. Just as. I don't know if you guys differ in your opinion on that, but...
Well, the truth is, we know that they're all important, but it's hard to rank them. I mean, we don't know that much about this disease. I'm not...
Yes, we do! Okay.
But I mean, like the air. I mean, there's some evidence that air conditioners can make.
It's already getting mad.
He's already pissed.
Yo, because that was the dumbest. I don't understand that statement. What do you mean you can't rank? They're both important. They're both equally important. One without the other doesn't. It doesn't make sense.
With air conditioning, there's evidence that it might make the spread worse. Like, we don't know, because like there's two. No, I mean, if you're not familiar with this, it's debated. It's being debated right now because the information's not there yet. But there's evidence that central air can spread the disease.
Well, yes, but they're talking about ventilation, like to get the outside air in.
Thank you.
Yeah, listen, it's all important, and it's going to be a disaster opening up schools.
Here's the thing. I think wearing a mask indoors is the most important when you are going to be in and out of a place. Okay, I'm going to the market. Maybe the market doesn't have the highest quality ventilation systems like let's say a hospital or something, it's obviously worse than being outdoors, but everyone's wearing a mask and I'm grabbing my shit and I'm going. I'm not going to spend more than an hour at the market. But something that we do know about this disease or this virus is there's a viral load that just keeps loaded up in the room. And so if there is no ventilation and we are in the classroom with 30 kids for 6 hours, we're eating in there with no masks, we're putting the mask back on afterwards, and we're wearing cloth masks where we know that droplets do come through, and the load is just loading and loading and loading. So by the end of the day, if there is no airflow, then the masks are you almost didn't even need them in the first place.
Bianca, if you're in a room with 30 people, I don't know about kids, but certainly if you're in a room with 30 adults and one or two of them if you're in a room with them, regardless of airflow for like 8 hours, like there's a very high risk of getting that disease, even if there is good air.
Well, yeah, well, that's what they try to do.
Exactly. So that's another reason why we shouldn't be sending kids into schools. Like that's a clear other reason why we shouldn't. Because here's the thing. What also doesn't make sense in my brain is how are you going to have kids on with masks for how long is school from start to end?
My school, I think, is going to go, well, it used to be 8 to 2:45.
So you expect kids to have on a mask for that long when people
over 6 hours, almost 7 hours.
Right. When adults who just walk to the store complain that having their mask on is uncomfortable. And you want to have kids to sit in a space for 8 hours with a mask and you think they're going to keep that on. Like, this is all stupid. Gina Raimondo did a great job when this thing all started, when she forced Rhode Island to close down. I thought that was, even though I think at that time I was a little frustrated, but it makes sense because you need to keep people away from each other so that the numbers can go down. That was great. I don't know what happened between that time and right now. I have no idea. Well, I could pinpoint some things. Money, corporations, these sort of...
Clayon, she's responding to the fact that parents are going crazy. She's not... You would say...
That's bull. That's bull. That's bull. A lot of parents actually care for their kids. Because parents actually love their children and they want their children to be alive. So
I don't understand how this affects children. Like I tried to ask you this before, and we just bulldozed over it. But how many kids between February and June? How many kids under 14 died of corona in America? Like, guess.
8.
It was 30 kids, and out of 10,000 people, children are not dying of this disease.
So are you listening? Okay.
Also, the danger is to the adults working there and to the potential for kids spreading it to their
Okay.
children.
The thing that you're forgetting is asymptomatic. Just because you don't show symptoms and because you don't have symptoms doesn't mean you can't spread or give it to someone else. That's what you're forgetting. You're forgetting the fact that kids go to school, they might get it, be asymptomatic, and then they go and they spread it to their adults.
That is one of the risks. The risk is to people like Bianca, and especially Bianca's colleagues who are older and have pre-existing conditions, and so family members potentially. We don't really know how well it spreads in children. There's a lot of evidence that indicating that under 14 it doesn't spread very fast. That being said, if we go over 10%, if we have a bigger than 10% rate in any region, kids should not be in school. But I think it should be linked to the test rates in a community. I mean, this fall is looking like it's going to be a disaster. I mean, the colleges are a really big problem. I'm not saying we're going to be reopening schools in September, October. I think we should be open to it, though, if we're able to keep numbers low.
So West Warwick School Committee estimated that it's about $15 million to sort of reopen schools. That's how much it's going to take to redo all the HVA systems. And this is, I guess, what Gina had to say on that. She said, I had committed a minimum of $50 million extra, and we'll do more if we need to. As soon as the district gets us the bill, we will reimburse them. That's how it's going to work. If the $50 million isn't enough, we'll do our best to find more. And if they have to buy the box fans, buy the box fans. So... You can't tell me that you care about kids and then be like, you know what, guys, you know what we should do? Let's buy 100 box fans. And
if you cared about kids, you would send them back to school. The people we're caring about are the teachers and the family members, because more kids will die.
Kids are not going to die.
The under 14 crowd are not going to be badly affected by coronavirus. They might spread it to their parents.
You don't know that for a
janitors,
fact.
teachers at the schools might be affected, and those are serious problems. But you are not championing the children right now, Clayon. You are.
Yes, how am I not championing the children?
No, incorrect. Incorrect.
How?
You are not championing the children. You are sacrificing.
Okay, why? No, I want to. Okay, Bianca, one second, Bianca. Please explain to me. You said I'm not champion. Why? you got to be specific. You can't just say this thing and then not give me a reason. What am I doing that's not championship for kids?
Not vulnerable to this disease. Like,
I'm sorry, wait, repeat that. I didn't hear the first part.
If everyone had the immune system of children of 14, this would not be a problem. Like it doesn't affect them. However, there is evidence that they can spread it asymptomatically. So, and we should be worried about that because a lot of young kids I know live with their grandmothers, you know, and they might be at risk, and that is a serious concern. So, by closing down schools, you are sacrificing the best interest for the next generation in order to preserve life of older people, which is fine.
Not life of older people, life of kids and everyone. Everyone's life is important, Jake. You hold on one second. I just let you finish. I let you finish, and I'm trying to talk. Do you want to continue, or can I talk? Okay. So, when you say I'm champion adults, I'm champion every human. Every human life for me is important. One life is not greater than the other. A child's life isn't greater than an adult's life, than greater than an elder's life. So the reason why I do not want kids to go back to school is because it's a higher chance of them spreading that disease to the adults. It's also a chance of them getting disease. When you put a bunch of kids in a closed building where they're just breathing each other for months on end, you cannot tell me that they're not going to catch disease. The schools that opened, I believe in Mississippi, tried that, and kids already, like 9 kids got the disease. So I don't believe that I'm champion just adult life. Yes, I am champion adults. And I'm also a champion kids. I want kids to still be alive. I still want them to live. I don't care. You're so focused on their education for some reason, and you're thinking that trumps life. Like them somehow losing a little bit for a year, maybe the most, somehow is greater than them living, which is just asinine. It doesn't make any sense to me that's what you're championing. You're like, let's get them educated. Okay, but getting them educated is also going to get them killed. And that's safer? Like, that's just stupid, man.
All right, can I say something, please?
Yeah, yes, I think it's I want Bianca to weigh in. Okay. I want the educated to weigh in.
Okay, first of all, I think Jake is right in what he said, that kids aren't necessarily going to die. The majority, maybe all kids in Providence won't die. Let's just say that. Say not one single kid in Providence dies of COVID. But we know that they're going to get COVID. We know for sure they will get COVID. What we don't know is how that will impact their lives, their physical bodies later in life. Okay? So that's number one, right? Number two is that I think what Clayon is saying is them, like, losing out on 1 year of education. They're not going to lose any time of education. We're going to do distance learning, and that's going to be fabulous if we prepare it properly and if we had the time to do so. Also, they are going to be experiencing ridiculous amount of trauma if suddenly their teachers, grandparents, and parents start dying, because those people will die at a larger level. Suddenly, these kids are not going to have parents to go home to. Now, of course, that's being, kind of crazy with it. But, potentially,
it's true. You're right.
It's not deadly to kids, fine. But don't they need parents? Don't they need their grandparents? Don't they need their teachers to be alive? That's incredibly traumatizing to go through a semester of school where, think about if you were a kid. If I were a kid and I brought this disease, this virus home to my mom, and my mom is a diabetic and she died, I would never forgive myself. I would be in Butler for the rest of my life, knowing that basically I brought home a virus to my mom and it killed her.
Great point, Bianca.
Yeah, I don't want to marginalize that.
Great
that's
point.
A very good point. And I just want to say, I think we're going to go into a disaster this fall. I think colleges are reopening, which they should not do. That's a terrible idea. It's insane. A number of other institutions are acting like business as usual. If you go, my friend just went to Newport. It was like we had to leave immediately because everyone was just mingling around by the beach with no mask in restaurants. I think we're fucked this fall, and I don't think schools will be reopened.
They don't even. My thing is that she doesn't even believe in what she's doing. They're trying to get liability waivers so that the kids can't sue them if they happen to get corona. Like, what the fuck is that, dog? Like, you're trying to so you're putting kids in this situation that might potentially get their family or themselves dead, and then you're trying to protect yourself by having liability waivers. She says she hopes. She says, in her words, I am hoping that Congress will pass it immediately. So she's really hoping that Congress will pass some liability waivers so that she can do whatever she wants to without consequence. That is not what a leader does. You're supposed to actually be thinking about people, not that, oh, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want to and the consequences be damn. There should be some consequences with telling people that they have to send their kids to a building to die or get sick. Like, you can't just do that and then be like, but I don't want to, I don't want any, if anything happens, it's not us, we didn't do it. Yeah. We're not liable for this,
I've been trying to see both sides of the liability waivers, but it sounds like a bad idea. I agree with you, Clayon, and it doesn't inspire confidence that she's big up in that. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, Wednesday in her briefing, she also she gave a whole plan. She said, and I am not quoting, but what I think I remember her saying is that there will be cases in the schools, and these are our plans. She had 3 different plans, I think, for when the virus gets out. Whether they can contact trace it to one particular person will make the difference between whether they have to quarantine just the class or the full school and things like that. And it's like, we know that cases are going to happen because people are in school. And she's not stupid. Like, she's admitting, like, yes, of course. There's no way 100% I'm going to say that people are going to go to school and there's going to be no COVID anymore. Like, she knows that. So what's sad to me is that, like, what happens, when the 1 or 2 cases happen in a school, and, what if those 1 or 2 cases are drastic? What if a kid does die? One kid in the entire Providence dies. Or the kid's parent, that is just so sad to me that let's protect everybody, even if there is a small chance. I want to see the statistics and the numbers for the kids who are suicidal, hurting themselves in other ways. I really want to see those numbers and compare them to what the projected numbers of kids getting COVID is, and compare those. I'm really interested in that.
I have some of those numbers if you want me to read them off. So first of all, about the suicidal, a lot of the self-harm stuff, we just can't get numbers on that. It's just impossible. And if we were trying, we would probably do it through the schools. So, like, in normal circumstances, that's hard, and now it's just impossible.
Well, they say they did say the national-wide network, I guess the nationwide network of centers that cares for victims of children and abuse service, they say roughly 40,000 fewer children this year compared to last year, and they suggest fewer kids reporting abuse, and they suggest
because the teachers aren't reporting it.
And they're suggesting that abuse is down because of the pandemic, and kids aren't.
That's not true. Reporting of it is down.
Yeah,
reporting.
I've heard, so there was hospitals are reporting an increased rate of kids coming in with horrible abuse, like horrible injuries from abuse.
Where is the story? I guess the part that I always is like, I've been scouring the internet for stories on what's happening, how the pandemic is affecting people, and I've never come across any stories about all these kids going to the hospital because they're being abused.
So the New York Times and 6/19/2020 was basically, I'll just get the quote for you. That's about the poisoning. Basically, in that paper, it said that it was mainly about poisonings and accidents, but they said that they were quoting doctors, and they said that also, in their opinions, serious cases of abuse were going up while reporting was going down. But I mean,
but that's like an assumption. Once again, that's also like an assumption. There's not.
We're not going to get good numbers about this for a long time.
Right, but to use an assumption. as a reason for an act is dumb. I'm sorry. Like you're using an assumption that they're being abused. There's not actual numbers. You're assuming that they're being abused.
Numbers are so what we do have good numbers for, because we don't have good numbers for abuse, but what we do have good numbers for is serious poisonings, and serious poisonings usually affect kids under 10, and normally in a normal year, like 730 kids die from poisoning. And so far, for the length of the coronavirus, poisonings are up 20%. So that means that if that is maintained, basically an additional 146 kids are going to die this year from poisoning alone, on top of the 730 that are already dying on average. And that like blows away the numbers of kids who are going to die of COVID under 14, if you're just comparing under 14 populations. But I don't want to marginalize what Bianca said, because it was super powerful, and like, adults are at risk here, you know, and I don't want to minimize that. And I don't want to, this shit that's going on in the South, what Donald Trump is talking about, all this stuff is insane. And we really need to be much more careful than certainly the federal government is pushing. I mean, Betsy DeVos and Donald Trump.
And I'm a teacher and a lover of children. And I really feel for what you're saying, Jake. Like, I don't like dismiss that at all. Like, I'm glad you brought those numbers. Like, that is terrible, and I wish that we could come up with a way to help that issue without endangering so many people. Like I had said before, why can't we open up schools for just those kids who absolutely need it, whose parents check a box? Yes, I work Monday through Friday, these hours. I cannot watch my kid. He's gonna be home, chewing on the damn windowsill or whatever. Like, that's not funny, sorry. And okay, come to school and we will have, see, right now they have this thing where like teachers, if you have an underlying condition or whatever, you can try to opt out. Why can't it be that we do distance learning and there are teachers who opt in? You know, teachers who feel healthy, who feel like they wanna help, they opt in. Do you know what I'm saying? As opposed to people trying to opt out.
I mean, it's tough. Like, the big thing, we need federal money. Like, that's the thing. Like, the feds need to help the states and cities with this stuff, and they're just not going to do it until, hopefully, we vote Biden and Kamala in. Because, like, the reason we're doing so much worse than other developed countries, because other developed countries have functioning federal governments. And, like, when Gina Raimondo is hemming and hawing about paying for HVAC systems, that's because we are a poor state with a bunch of poor municipalities who have just gotten a lot poorer because taxes collapsed.
So we don't even, that being said, we don't have the facilities to like, man, like, this is dumb. This is the dumbest thing as an adult that I've ever experienced. I've not, like, I think so little now about humans and adult humans. I don't like I think the majority of humans are stupid, because the way things are being led by people who supposedly went to these colleges and have these degrees, and the ideas that they have to make us safe is, oh my, like, I don't even, I'm trying to be very appropriate. I don't want to talk outside my mouth and be disrespectful towards someone because I disagree with them a lot. Like, I just truly disagree with, but I just think there's so much, but I think there's something just devious about choosing money. And I feel like that's what it's all about. We want to talk around this. It's, in the end, it's about money and trying to normalize things and make it seem like everything is normal, even though it's not. It's about these nonprofit organizations that run on after school kids. It's about, you know how many corporations, how many companies in Rhode Island run off, after school programs and things like that. I just think it's, in the end, it's all about money. It's about trying to pretend like everything's normal, and it's not. And it's just
Clayon, it's about like the significant portion of the voters have children, And I mean, I don't know if you know any people with kids, but every single person I know who has kids is very worried about sending their kids back to school, but wants them to be in school as soon as possible. And
Yes, that is not, but that's not the, okay. But wanting someone to be in school as soon as possible is like that statement is
I would like to be in school as soon as possible.
Exactly. You want to be there when it's safe. I understand what those parents are saying. They're not saying, hey, at any minute, even though it's unsafe, get those kids back in. What they're saying is that when it's safe, they want them in as soon as possible. They're not saying, let's just do it right now. I doubt it. I don't give a I don't care what you say, Jake. I doubt that the majority of parents wants their kids to go back to school in this situation. Yes, as much as parents sort of don't want, maybe they want to go and do their jobs and all that stuff. I just don't think that they want like their kids just to go back to school like that in this situation. It doesn't make sense.
Of course, it's a polarized issue, but she's not doing this for money or for corporations. She's doing it because there's a genuine agenda.
She is.
The voters are genuine.
The voters don't want it. The voters are going against it. There's not, majority of people aren't like, yay. The teachers don't want it. The voters don't want it. So that's bullcrap. The voters don't want it. The teachers don't want it. No one wants it.
Every parent I know is
right
desperate for childcare.
Hey, Bianca, you're a parent. Would you send your child back right now if it opened? Like, any parent who actually loves their child, and if I had a kid, I would not send my kid back to school. Like, I would not send my kid back to school because it's
not a simple decision though. It's hard because
I think that's the point we have to make.
I have a kid who's not school age anyway, and if I had to go back to work as a teacher, I would feel like my hand was forced.
Exactly.
And I would have to put him back in school. If I
right, because your hand is forced.
Schools come the fall has intensified it.
Because your hand is forced though. Like that's the issue. We're forcing hands.
Right, but a lot of parents who are in this position are trying to send their kids back because their hands are forced.
I do. I even have an article here. It says it's entitled it having to quit. So it says parents are faced with an impossible task of trying to figure out how both to work and parent from home. Unfortunately, many of these parents will have to decide between their careers and staying at home to take care of their kids. So yes, I do hear that, a lot of parents are having to sort of deal with that. And I think the solution isn't to send the kids back to school. It's help from the federal government. Like the fact that we used to have, I didn't have it at any point, but some people had that $600 bonus thing on their checks. And like those things help parents and help with childcare. Sending them back in a dangerous situation, that's not what we should be doing. We should be trying to find ways to help their parents by supplementing their rent and things like that. Those are the methods that we should try. And because those methods
need federal help for that. Like unless we get federal help,
right. So the issue, so that's the problem. Why is the solution to put kids in danger? Like you're telling me what the problem is, but then your solution is something that has nothing to do with what the problem is.
No, I mean, I don't think there is a good solution to this. I mean, I think, Clayon, that at least in Providence, I expect that by September, October, we're going to have spiking rates of COVID-19 in the population. There will be no possibility of any kind of childcare. Like I'm pessimistic about all this stuff. I don't think there is going to be.
I know you seem okay with that, man. You seem okay with the kids just going back and that kids in danger and endangered in their family. You seem like that's like.
You're not listening to me. I've said that consistently. I've said if rates remain under 5%, kids should be in school. But like I don't expect that. I expect that we're going to blow that away by the time the weather gets cold. And so, yeah, in that case, I don't think kids should go back to school. However, should we be trying to get kids back in school? Yes. Should we be trying to keep the rate under 5%? Yes. But yeah, I'm pessimistic about this plan. Like I am very, very concerned about the fall for kids and for everybody. Yeah,
all right. So
it's only my opinion.